Hi folks, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be doing something I've been looking forward to quite a lot, and unboxing the new Traxxas UDR Unlimited Desert Racer. This is a pro scale truck. So this particular subject, pro scale, is a little bit open-ended as far as actual scales are concerned, just like everything is in RC mostly, besides like super trick scale stuff that, you know, the scale guys do. They got their own thing going on. But this one falls right between like 1/7 and 1/8 scale compared to a real trophy truck. And that's what they're going for, is a real trophy truck. So I usually like to start these videos out with a little history lesson, but in this case, for you people who are not fans of history, you're in luck, because there's not much of a history here really, besides like, you know, recent design history or whatever it is you got. This shares very minor components here and there with some other Traxxas cars that are already on the market, but this is basically a 100% fresh design, with the exception of, you know, some drivetrain elements and obviously nuts, bolts, screws, things like that. So let's just go ahead and grab it and we'll get right into it. Let's see if by any chance once in my life I can open a box up right side up the first try. And as always, I like to put my X-Acto knife away when I'm done using it. Here we go, folks. Well, what do you know? Hang on. Alright, there we go. Coming out of the box right there, you can see, I mean, it's definitely got a lot of size to it. It has a presence all its own, and I'm already seeing some scale features on this that are, you know, they blow you away by comparison to basically any other thing Traxxas has ever made, to be honest. And in my opinion, it gets into fifth scale territory and surpasses the level of detail that I've seen on a lot of that stuff too. Let's go ahead and roll it out of the bag. If I'm being perfectly honest, before we get started, the nice thing about these like slightly smaller, like a pro scale, this is actually noticeably smaller than fifth scale. It's a lot more manageable to have around, you know what I'm saying? Fifth scale is super cool and it has a realistic thing going on, but, you know, I'm trying to go for something a little more manageable, and with fifth scale stuff, a lot of times I'm like, why don't you basically get a go-kart, you know? But nothing against them. We need those dudes too, because they build rad stuff. So here's the body right here. You know, like we talked about, it is a pro scale body. You're looking at a length of 27.3 inches, 16.5 inch wheelbase. So right there is a 16.5 inch wheelbase. That's what I'm talking about. The width is 13.5 inches, just about there. And the height is 10.3 inches. So you've got a good ride height to it, and obviously that's going to change depending on the compression of the suspension, which is extremely articulate and very nice by the way it feels. You can really tell, as we'll be getting into the detail of this later, that dampening that they did, you know, it definitely has a great effect. These tires are real stiff, and that's for two reasons. They're designed obviously to look scale. They're stiff to support the extra weight that this vehicle carries around, and you know, to promote long wear time on it, and to kind of prevent them from flaring out under acceleration sort of conditions. You have a look here, Steve. That's cameraman Steve behind the lens over there, helping us out again, so we all appreciate him. The level of detail they decided to go with these scale effects that it's got in here. You have like outboard reservoirs with hide lines coming off of them, a couple of fire extinguishers here, oil coolers, and there's some engine oil in here, along with two batteries and a battery rack on the back of it, which is like a super cool feature. Step on out for a second and just get like the whole enchilada in one shot, you know what I'm saying? It really is a lot to take in. I hope that this video does a good job of kind of expressing that. As we're getting into this now, let me see where we're at details-wise. If you can, get a look inside the cabin there, like in the cockpit. You have two drivers. The helmets are separately molded. It looks like injection molded pieces, while the cockpit itself is a vacuum-formed sort of cockpit with a driver and co-driver. All the switches are in there. They got little screens and everything like that. So they're really going for a more realistic look with this thing. All right. It has a kind of, I don't want to call it a generic body. It's a trophy truck body. It gets the point across. The tires are replicas of a BF Goodrich KR3 type tire. They're 5.3 inches in diameter. The outside face of the wheel is 2.2 inches, which we should be used to. And much like the regular short course truck wheel and tire, the inside inboard bead of the wheel is a larger diameter than the outboard bead. So on this particular truck with these wheels, The outside diameter of the wheel is 2.2 inches at the bead, and on the inside the bead is 3.2 inches. So that allows the truck to accommodate some more drivetrain hardware and things like that inside the wheel on the inside that wouldn't fit if it were 2.2 inches. And it also gives you a little bit more sidewall rigidity without compromising the scale look that they're going for with this truck. Okay. So the chassis is an inverted tub with an integrated roll cage, both for like a scale effect and, you know, it just works for the design of the truck, performance-wise too, I'm sure, the way that they designed it. So let's go ahead and turn it over if we can. Another quick sidebar, this is not, well, it's a removable body, but it's like 10 screws or something like that that I'm seeing here. Screws along the rocker panel, screws in the back, and screws on the hood that are holding the body on. So this body isn't something that you're just going to pull a couple of pins and it comes off. It's not designed that way. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the truck over, and we'll have a look on the underside of the truck, okay? Set it down gently. It does have a pretty rigid body. The body feels nice and strong, and setting it down on the lid doesn't feel too bad to me at all, okay? Now, the first thing that we notice is that this does not have four-wheel independent suspension. It's a four-linked, kind of trailing link, solid axle rear setup that's going on. You know, something that popped out to me right away that's super cool are these limit straps that it incorporates. So, a lot like you're going to see on a real trophy truck or like a real off-road truck setup, it has limit straps on here, and you got your 2 links of the suspension here going right here to the differential from kind of outside by the roll cage outside area here, and then the main trailing links are right here. And they have like a simulated sort of a gusset where the suspension attaches. The suspension is like an elongated GTR shock, and we've seen these before on the Revo and the X01. The Jado uses them. So what they did is they took a GTR shock that's a 13mm bore, and they dragged the shock body out on it. This one retains the threading, so it's an adjustable coilover, and this damper doesn't have a threaded shock body, but it's also a 13mm GTR shock, just used as a damper with no spring and a smooth shock body. So let's see what we can get into here. This looks like some kind of a release latch for the battery. Let's see here. I don't know this truck very well, so first interaction I've had with it. So there's your battery access tray right there. So there's the cover. There's a little bit of Traxxas literature tucked away in here for folks to find when they're putting in their first battery. And you pull this guy back and open it up. And this battery tray can accommodate a variety of LiPo setups. This is a strictly LiPo situation with this truck. So you're going to be using 2 2-cells, 1 4-cell, or to unlock the maximum performance of the truck with an optional gearing, you can use 2 3-cells. The power system that's in this truck, motor and speed control, is basically identical to the Revo that we reviewed last week and that other people, of course, have reviewed. So it has a VXL 6S, which we'll talk about soon. Let's get this all put back together. Now, the unremovable body situation makes it kind of an interesting thing as far as reviewing this is concerned, because I'm just going to have to ask you to accept a lot of what I'm about to say by faith, because it's a little bit difficult to show you. But if you have a look down inside here, that's your VXL 6S power system, or speed control rather, and that's responsible for turning a 2200 kilovolt brushless motor. All right? Now we're looking at it this way, so I'm going to turn it towards Steve here so you guys can have a little bit of a better look at it in the light. We're working kind of from the back to the front because this is, I can't tell you how unorthodox this seems to do like a review like this with a car with an unremovable body. Well, you can see here that you have your simulated brake discs. There is a simulated fuel cell here on the back that you can enjoy the look of. And I have to reiterate how nice the suspension articulates on this. With that extra dampening, it just feels super cool. These are linkages here that go to a sway bar, so it does incorporate a rear sway bar. That's it right there, kind of going across the roll bar up there in the middle. And in the front, it is like a double wishbone. You can see the sway bar actually working on the lower side of the truck as I articulate this the passenger side suspension here. So it's sway bar in the front, sway bar in the rear. It has both, and it's also 4-corner coilover and damper setup on every corner of the truck. So you can see those there. All right. The drivetrain is a 4-wheel drive shaft drive, of course, with stub axles in the back because it is a live axle sort of rear suspension. You'll notice here that there's kind of this protrusion on the front end of the rear differential. There's a gear reduction on the diff on this truck, and that's something that Traxxas has been, experimenting with and perfecting. The TRX4 had it, so what they're trying to do is reduce as much drivetrain twist in the sprung weight of the car and keep it down in the unsprung area as they can. So you have a gear differential, or rather a gear reduction that's taking place on the center differential, which is a 4-geared torque biasing differential, and they achieved that effect by filling it up with differential fluid that's so thick it's basically like silicone putty. So that gives it kind of a VLSD feel, like viscous limited slip differential in the real automotive world is what you'd be calling that guy. Okay, as you can see the back of the motor right there, that's your 2200 kV motor. Suspension linkages coming back, and look underneath there, man, you can see these like panels that are on the roll cage kind of dividing it, and I just decided that we're going to take the body off of this, so I will catch you in just a couple of minutes. We're going to get the body off this and see what we got, okay? Hello folks, we are back. Before we go any further, here is the radio system. We'll go over this really quick. It's a Traxxas TQI 4-channel radio system, and it's Traxxas Link enabled, so if you have a Traxxas car already, or if you're at all familiar with these, this is their top of the line TQI radio that they offer. So there's that one. And that comes with your truck. Now, in order to get the body off, we did have to remove a dozen screws. That's 14 though if you count the spare tire screws, which I did remove. So that's 12 for the body. We just did 2 more for these guys. These are scale replicas of Method off-road race wheels, which is pretty cool. And here you can see the difference in the sidewall that we were talking about from the front to the back. So it is in that respect kind of similar design-wise to any other short course tire you'll see. It uses a splined Traxxas 17mm hub. And Steve, have a look there at those scale details we got going on. There's a filler and a breather tube for the fuel cell, which is super cool. And got some quarts of oil there, battery racks like we talked about before. Let's have a look under the body. All right, now that those screws are removed, just go ahead and peel this sucker up. In the front, you kind of got to do like a little maneuver to get it off of there. So you go the top rail, and then scoot it back and forth, and you get the bottom rail. I'm going to go ahead and move the radio and the accessory bag, which is right here. This has some accessories that are just pretty boilerplate for the Traxxas cars. So now we're looking at the car with the body off. All right, folks? And for my money, this is one of the most impressive views of this truck that I've seen. Now with the body off, especially in person, it has a real presence to it. Like we talked about, they got injection molded heads on the drivers. They can be articulated, look around, whatever like that. And if you're truly awesome, what you do is you put servos on them and slave them to your steering channel so that as you drive, the dudes are looking around. You could go that way with it if you wanted to. Just throw that out there. There's the front of your oil cooler. It's even textured like a real radiator oil cooler. And the fans are on back here. And you can see some of the electronics inside here. And it's a real good look at the suspension as well as the front differential housing, which is the differential, that X-Max spec differential that you're going to find on the Revo 2.0, which Steve and I went through last week. So that's 2 awesome unboxings. Awesome cars, not necessarily awesome job on my part. I hope so. But 2 awesome unboxings in as many weeks, and I hope you guys are enjoying them. I know I got some requests for this truck. Thank you so much to Traxxas for coming through with it early. We really do appreciate it. And you guys let me know if there's anything I missed. If there's anything about the truck you're curious about, it's going to be sitting around in here, and I'm going to be drooling all over it. So I'll be happy to get back to you in the comments section and let you know the answers to your questions. Thank you so much for joining us, and you take care.